After a fight with her fiancé, Michelle packs her things and leaves, placing her engagement ring and the apartment keys on the table. She drives for a long time through the countryside, stopping at a gas station where she notices a car that has been following her for some time. Late at night, her fiancé calls, trying to convince Michelle to return, but she doesn't want to talk and turns on the radio. She hears a news report about widespread power outages. Distracted, she gets into an accident. The car flips over several times, crashing onto the roadside, and Michelle loses consciousness. Sometime later, she wakes up in a concrete room. An IV is connected to her arm, and her leg is bandaged and restrained with metal chains. Her belongings are piled in the corner of the room. Using the IV stand, Michelle reaches her phone, but there's no signal. Then she hears footsteps, and the door opens, revealing a large man who places a tray of food in front of her. She begs him to let her go, promising she won't tell anyone, but the man tells her that he's not letting her die, and after leaving the key to her shackles, he walks out. Michelle frees herself, gets dressed, and sharpens the end of a crutch, preparing to fight for her freedom. But the man is gone, so she sets a piece of clothing on fire and pushes it into the ventilation duct. The fire alarm goes off, and when the man runs in, he injects her with something, causing her to pass out. When she regains consciousness, Michelle sees the man sitting by her bed. He tells her that she's actually very lucky to be there. She must eat and take her medication because humans have been attacked, though it's still unclear what kind of attack it is. They are now in a bunker beneath his farm. He saw her crash and couldn't leave her to die. Michelle insists on calling the police, but the man explains that the outside world is contaminated. It will take at least a year for the air to be breathable again, and that's only if it was a simple attack. If it were something like Martians, humanity might be doomed. Michelle asks to contact her family, but the man assures her that everyone left on the surface is dead. As Michelle tries to process what she's heard, there's a loud noise from the next room. The man leaves, leaving the door open, and shouts at someone, then returns and angrily reminds her that she should be grateful to him for saving her life. Before he leaves, he introduces himself as Howard. The next morning, Michelle is awakened by a sound coming from the surface and sees the door open. She walks out and wakes a young man sleeping in the hallway. He tries to reassure her, but she explains that she doesn't believe Howard's lies. However, Emmett confirms that everything is indeed as Howard said. Later, Howard shows Michelle the bunker. In the center is a communal area where a special system filters the air. There's a library, a TV, and movies on disc. The kitchen is impressive, with an electric stove, fridge, and silverware. The table is a family heirloom. Access to Howard's personal room is forbidden. Michelle has to use the toilet behind a curtain because Howard fears she might try something dangerous again, like nearly starting a fire. Also, water needs to be used sparingly. After the tour, Howard invites her to sit at the table for lunch. Michelle notices a stack of women's magazines, and Howard explains that they belong to Megan, who is no longer with them. Suddenly, Michelle hears a noise outside and guesses it might be a car passing by, but Howard assures her that it's impossible. He's tired of explaining that no one is left above, even though people thought he was crazy when he started building the bunker. He offers Michelle a chance to see for herself, leading her to a staircase. At the top, Michelle sees a door with a small window. The outside world looks unchanged at first glance, but in the pen in front of the house lie dead pigs with deep sores. Howard explains that those were his pigs, which he couldn't save. Then Michelle recognizes his car as the one that had been following her the night of the accident. Howard points out that these doors are always locked and shows her the key. Later, Michelle and Emmett discuss the situation. Emmett reveals that Howard had served in the Navy. Afterward, he bought the farm and hired Emmett to help with the chores. Howard is obsessed with conspiracy theories, which is why he built the bunker. Emmett wasn't kidnapped. He ran to Howard's bunker, hoping to take shelter because he saw Howard pouring all his money into its construction. Michelle reminds Emmett that it was Howard who caused the accident and brought her here, so everything he says about an attack is a lie. But Emmett insists she's wrong. He saw the attack himself, a flash, an explosion, and the horizon turned red. He's glad he made it to the bunker before Howard locked the door. Michelle tries to refute Howard's claims, unaware that he's been standing in the doorway, listening to their conversation. Howard invites them to dinner, remarking that the two seem to have gotten along well. During dinner, Emmett talks about his unfulfilled dreams and then notices a Monopoly game, suggesting they pass the time playing it. Howard gets annoyed by the chatter, and Michelle flirts with Emmett, provoking Howard's outburst of anger. He yells at her, demanding respect because he saved her life. While Howard is scolding them, Michelle manages to steal the keys from his belt. Howard notices her strange behavior and realizes the keys are missing. But before he can react, a noise from above distracts him and Michelle hits him over the head with a bottle, running for the bunker exit. Emmett shouts after her to stop, but Michelle reaches the door and slips into the airlock just before Howard can catch up. Michelle sees a car approaching the farm. She screams, trying to get the driver's attention, but a woman suffering from a severe skin infection runs to the window, desperately begging to be let into the bunker. Howard forbids Michelle from helping the woman, saying it's too late to save her. Realizing that some sort of attack has indeed happened, Michelle returns to the bunker. Later, Howard admits that he caused Michelle's accident, but it was this accident that saved her life. Howard lends her some of Megan's clothes and sends her to shower since she was near the door. He reveals that he recognized the infected woman as his former neighbor. Since most people knew about his bunker, others may come here too. Howard demands that Michelle stitch up the wound she caused and starts telling funny stories from his time in the Navy. Michelle begins stitching up Howard's wound as he continues to share stories, praising her for her efforts. Later, he brings a box containing her belongings from the car and asks her about her life. Michelle admits that she had dreamed of becoming a fashion designer. Howard in turn shares that his daughter Megan had wanted to be an artist. He shows Michelle a picture of Megan, a young girl, and laments that after his divorce, Megan's mother turned her against him and took her to Chicago. Howard expresses frustration that people don't care about their safety, but at least he tried to protect them. Later, Emmett comforts Michelle, telling her she couldn't have saved the woman outside even if they had let her in. She would have died anyway. They reminisce about their past lives. Emmett, who had been awarded a scholarship to a polytechnic school, admits he got scared and never left for it. Michelle, meanwhile, reveals how her father used to beat her, leaving her terrified of confrontation throughout her life. Emmett reminds her that, despite everything, they're the lucky ones. They survived. Over the next few days, the three of them begin to coexist somewhat peacefully. They play games, prepare meals together, and make small attempts to adjust to their new lives. One day, a loud noise echoes from above. Howard suggests that if it's the military, it's not Earth's military. The flashes they saw earlier were just the first phase. Now, the second phase, clearing out the territories, has begun, likely by alien forces. Suddenly, the air filtration system fails. Howard asks Michelle to climb through the ventilation shaft to restart the system, as she's the only one small enough to fit. She agrees and begins crawling through the ducts. Eventually, she reaches the filtration unit and manages to restart it. But while she's there, she spots something disturbing. A message etched into the glass that reads, "Help," along with a bloody earring lying beneath a ladder. The earring looks exactly like the one Megan was wearing in the photo Howard showed her. Shaken, Michelle tells Emmett about her discovery, suspecting that Howard might have done something to Megan. Upon closer inspection, Emmett recognizes the girl in the photo, not as Megan, but as Brittany, a classmate of his sister who went missing years ago. A second photograph falls from the book, showing Howard and Brittany dressed in the same clothes that Michelle now wears, standing together in the bunker. Realizing the danger they're in, Michelle and Emmett decide to plan an escape. They quietly start gathering materials. Michelle cuts a makeshift biohazard suit from a shower curtain, and Emmett constructs a homemade gas mask. Their plan is to take Howard's gun, tie him up, and then one of them will go for help. One evening, while playing a game of charades, they almost give themselves away when Howard starts suspecting that something is off. A few days later, Howard calls them into a room and shows them a barrel of hydrochloric acid, which he claims is for waste disposal. He then accuses them of plotting against him, revealing the tools they had hidden for their escape. Furious, Howard dissolves the tools in the acid as Michelle and Emmett look on, horrified. Trying to protect Michelle, Emmett takes the blame for the attempted escape, admitting that he used the tools to try and make a weapon. Howard, seemingly accepting Emmett's apology, coldly shoots and kills him. Shocked and heartbroken, Michelle watches as Howard calmly reassures her, promising that no one will ever harm her again. He begins taking care of her, offering her ice cream and talking about how they'll create a happy life together in the bunker. Determined to escape, Michelle rushes to finish her biohazard suit while mourning Emmett. But one night, Howard discovers the suit hidden among her belongings. Michelle manages to slip past him, but Howard catches up, scolding her for her ingratitude. In a desperate move, Michelle knocks over the barrel of acid onto Howard, causing a fire to break out in the bunker. She grabs her biohazard suit as the severely injured Howard tries to attack her, but she traps him under a heavy shelf and makes her way to the exit. By now, the bunker is engulfed in flames. With the fire spreading, Michelle crawls through the ventilation shaft, dodging Howard's attempts to stab her through the vent grates. She reaches the air filtration room and quickly dons her biohazard suit. Using a can of nitrogen, she freezes and breaks the lock on the outer door, finally escaping the bunker. Outside, Michelle heads toward a car, but tears her suit in the process. Panicking, she seals the rip with duct tape she finds in the vehicle. Just as she's about to relax, she notices a flock of birds flying freely overhead. Realizing that the air isn't toxic, Michelle removes her gas mask. But before she can celebrate, she spots an alien spaceship hovering in the distance, behaving almost like a living creature. As Michelle watches in horror, the bunker explodes behind her, drawing the attention of the alien ship. She frantically searches for the car keys, but can't find them. She runs to the car of the woman who had tried to get into the bunker earlier, but the car alarm goes off, alerting the alien. Terrified, Michelle hides in a nearby shed where she finds the corpse of the infected woman. Searching the body, Michelle locates the car keys just as the alien creature begins investigating the shed, trying to force its way through the animal door. Taking advantage of the alien's distraction, Michelle sprints toward Howard's house, but as she reaches it, the alien ship flies overhead, releasing a poisonous gas. Michelle quickly puts on her gas mask and survives the chemical attack. She hides in the car, but the alien begins probing the vehicle, testing its defenses. When it becomes clear that the car is too difficult to breach, the alien ship lifts the vehicle into the air. Inside the car, Michelle finds a bottle of flammable liquid and a lighter. She quickly makes a Molotov cocktail and throws it into the alien ship's mouth-like opening. The resulting explosion destroys the alien, and the car crashes to the ground. Michelle survives the fall, climbs out of the wrecked vehicle, and drives away in the woman's car. While driving, she tunes the radio and hears news reports of humanity's victories over the alien invaders. There are instructions for survivors to evacuate and a call for those with medical training or combat experience to head to Houston. As Michelle stops to listen to the full message, she notices a sign pointing toward Houston. She drives in that direction, determined to help, and as lightning flashes, she glimpses an even larger alien ship looming in the sky. The film may not be a masterpiece, but the team's skillful execution is undeniable. The script draws you in gradually, raising unsettling questions about who can truly be trusted.